Nebraska fans, I don't want to raise the hopes way too high, but if you do the math and look at the Big Ten Western Division standings, you see who's on top. Well, that team's coming to town on Saturday. So, with a 2-2 record in the Big Ten Western Division, it's all still right there for Nebraska to make a move toward the top. Talking Huskers for the next 60 minutes with all of you here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you being here. Please leave those comments and questions in the live chat. And of course, this only happens because we got our buddy Greg Peterson on the line from Husker Online Video. Check it out right here on YouTube. Again, it's huskeronline.com, but it's also Husker Online Video for player interviews and such. Greg, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well, Mark. How about you?
I'm doing well. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thanks for making this happen for 85 consecutive times or whatever the number is. 93. We're up to 93 now.
Wow.
We're pushing 2 years.
That's crazy.
Absolutely, it is. Well, we've got some good news and we got some bad news. Let's start with the bad news, I guess, because it's about the team right now. That's Nick Henrich is out for the season. So a key cog will be missing for the stretch drive here.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, and especially at a position where you don't have a heck of a lot of depth except for young guys. So, some people are going to have to step up. Hopefully, Ernest Hausman can fill the void a little bit. A guy that was playing high school football last year. And, Nick hadn't, he got hurt there that Northwestern game and missed a few games and came back and played. And unfortunately, he's done for the year now. So, yeah, it's horrible for a captain not to be able to finish out the last 5 games of the season. And but you know what? Next man up means opportunities for other guys, younger guys.
Well, you mentioned that he missed 2 games, and even despite that, he was still tied for 5th on the team with 37 tackles, 3 tackles for loss.
Yeah, no, he obviously a big part of the Nebraska defense, and it's going to hurt, especially when you're playing against a team that has number 1 rusher in the country and a team that likes to dominate the time of possession, a lot like Nebraska saw in their last game against Purdue. And it's a monumental task, obviously, but Mickey Joseph has a way to fire guys up and get them ready to go in a short amount of time. So, Husker fans, keep your fingers crossed that they can fill in for the loss of Nick Henrich.
All right, let's deliver some good news now. And everybody already knows about this, but we'll celebrate it anyway. And, of course, confirm this one. So we're talking about one of the finest athletes in the country in the 2023 class. 6'5", 190, Malachi Coleman has made it official, and he is going to be a Husker.
Yep. He'd had his commitment ceremony, laid out for quite a while, and that was on Saturday. And he committed to Mickey Joseph and Nebraska. And, obviously a big part of that is because Mickey Joseph. So, yeah, big get. It kind of reinforces, the reputation of Mickey Joseph, especially with the wide receiver position. And, number 1 player in the state. And you got to get the number 1 player in the state, especially right now. And we talked a lot about recruiting last week about, we went over the in-state and the out-of-state recruits. And I think to a T, I think all the in-state guys are still on board. And, Malachi Coleman committing doesn't hurt those guys' decision at all. So, it was I went to Malachi's game. They played Gretna. Gretna's ranked number 1 in the state. They played up there on Friday night, and they played tough, but they lost. And they kind of backed their way into the playoffs. So Malachi does play again this Friday. I'll go see him again, and unfortunately, that's against Elkhorn South, which is probably the best team in the state. with fellow Husker commit Maverick Noonan leading the show there. But he had a ceremony at Lincoln East High School, my alma mater, and it was held in the auditorium there at 5:00 Central on Saturday, and they got us all, out of our routine on a bye week, and it was pretty crazy. I mean, I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I've covered more commitment announcemements than I can remember at this point. And this was one of the I don't know. It was one of the stranger ones just because of how big of a production it ended up being. There was some kind of band thing going on too at Seacrest Field, which if people aren't familiar, Lincoln East has Seacrest Field there, which the whole city shares as the home field. Right now they do. There's a new stadium being built, but so the parking lot was packed and you couldn't really find your way. At least, I went to high school there. Well, it's a junior high, senior high. So I went to school there for 6 years. So I know my way around there. So it didn't bother me any. And it was held in the school auditorium, and there was probably at least 100 people there for this. A lot of his teammates were there, and a lot of the East High family, and it was a pretty big deal. And there was an MC there for the thing, and it was actually, for us, it was kind of brutal because it took forever. I hate to say that, but Malachi's track coach talked for a while, and then his school counselor talked for a while, and then his dad, and then his mom, and then he did the hat trick thing where he picked up, he picked up the Oklahoma hat, and he picked, I can't remember the first one he picked up, but then, he's put his hat on and said, "I'm staying home." And it was a pretty good deal. And I really, like I've said on this show for how long we've been talking about Malachi Coleman, that he's coming to Nebraska, and sure enough. And Friday night during his game, it was pretty funny. He was wearing Nebraska leggings there above his socks. And so if that wasn't a dead giveaway, I don't know what it was. But I asked him in our interview with him afterwards, and I said, "Hey, you were wearing those Nebraska leggings, and were you just like trying to advertise that you'd already made your decision up?" And he he said he couldn't figure out how to put them on backwards or upside down or reversed or whatever. He just went with it like it was. But it's no secret that he's been saying for a long time, if Mickey Joseph's at Nebraska, he's going to Nebraska. And it's a big get. It's a really big get for Nebraska right now, especially when they're trying to recruit a lot. In a time where there's uncertainty, if Mickey Joseph's not the head coach, it's pretty much a no-brainer that you got to keep him on there as an associate head coach or what have you, because he's showing his mettle right now as a recruiter, and especially at that wide receiver spot. And there's still another big fish out there left, Davion Hall at Bellevue West. He's another very dynamic, a 4-star receiver that's yet to be committed. So we'll see. But, big news on the recruiting front for Nebraska. And coming off a bye week when all the coaches were out on the recruiting trail and selling Nebraska. A lot of the assistant coaches, they're just trying to sell the school at this point. And you don't know, they don't know if they're going to be here next year or not. But, they're all going out and doing their jobs with the mindset that they will be here next year.
Malachi Coleman out of Lincoln East, second-rated athlete in the athlete category, coming out of high school, top 75 player in the country, number 1 rated again in Nebraska. Appreciate y'all being here at the Voice of College Football, Nebraska, GBR, Nebraska Live, brought to you by Gene Arthur Associates. course, get on over to Gene Arthur Associates. You can grab the link in the description section of any video here at the Voice of College Football Nebraska. Go to any video, go to the description section, grab the link. You get your instant quote there. But unrelated, we continue. No purchase necessary. You can get your free tickets to any Nebraska game, at least these. I think this is the closing run right here. Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. The Iowa game, of course, on the road, but Minnesota and Wisconsin at home. The Iowa game also is part of the package as well. And we've got a winner for this Saturday's game against Illinois. So let's cue this one up as soon as I can get myself organized. I'm playing host and technical director at the same time here.
Number 17, Illinois, by the way.
Yes, they are. So here we go.
Oh, boy.
We're not hearing anyone. Let's back it up.
Uh-oh.
Hang on.
Hey, Gene Arthur followers and Husker fanatics. Today's the day we're drawing the 2-ticket giveaway for Nebraska versus Illinois this Saturday at Memorial Stadium. My sister Mindy is going to draw the winner from our Halloween bucket. Happy early Halloween. And the winner is... Let's see... David Myers! Congratulations! We will be contacting you to get you your 2 tickets. Also, if you did not win this time, remember, we have 3 more games that we are giving 2 tickets away to. And if you've already entered, you're entered for those games. Woo!
Woo!
Good job. Love. Go Big Red! Go Big Red!
From attempted murder.
Okay.
All right.
Right into it.
I think that guy owes me money.
Right from that into that line, you know. I can only do what I can do. You know, it's a one-man deal here. All right, but we want to congratulate David Myers, who won 2 tickets to Illinois and Nebraska this Saturday. And again, as the ladies told you, we've got 3 more ticket giveaways: Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. Even though the Iowa game's on the road, there's another ticket giveaway right there. So if you've already entered, don't need to do it again. Go to Gene Arthur Associates on Facebook, and I'll be dropping the link in the live chat. You go there on Facebook, like, follow, and share. That's what you need to do. And go to Instagram as well, Gene Arthur Associates, and we will drop the links right there in the chat. Good stuff. Somebody else for you to meet, Greg.
Better get there on time.
That's the key. Greg's busy. He's got responsibilities on game day, so got to get there early. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Let's see what's going on here in the chat. I will say before we tee up Alan that I caught Mickey Joseph's news conference today, and I thought it was kind of amusing. At one point, he said something about, he was asked about his approach, and of course, he's an interim coach, and said, hey, I am selling this place like I'm going to be the head coach, that we're going to be here. That's how I have to approach it. That's what I want. It's not up to me. It's up to the administration. Hey, I'm good either way. I'll go back to a nice house in Baton Rouge if it doesn't work out or whatever. But hey, I'm here to get the job done and be here.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And that's his mindset. I mean, you know what? He's been around for a long time. He's been in this business at every level. And, you know, he's got family that are in this business and, you know, a lot of contacts in the coaching world. And he's such a breath of fresh air and such a down-to-earth guy that, you know what? Things don't seem to bother him. You know, just comparing him with Scott Frost would be kind of uptight about a question like that. And Mickey just lets it all bounce off, and he's telling you the truth. I mean, he's got a sweet house down there that he can retreat to anytime he needs to, and he can call anybody for support at any time. I mean, his brother Vance Joseph, Ed Ogeron. There's a plethora of coaches out there that know what he's about, and I think he's pretty confident right now. He's 2-2. He has 9 games here. He's 2-2. He's got 5 left, and he's giving it his all, like he's going to get the job. And until Trev Alberts tells him otherwise, that's his mindset. And he's got the best interest of the kids. He's got the kids' best interest, in his heart. That's what he's doing. That's what he does this for. And he loves this university. He loves it here, and he obviously, I think he understands it more than about anybody else in the nation, really. Any candidate for this job. And so that's what makes it. I mean, obviously in this business, wins and losses mean everything. But you have a 5-game stretch here where, you've got Illinois at home, you got to go to Michigan, and then you got Minnesota and Wisconsin at home until you go to Iowa for the last game of the year. If you're going to do anything right now, you got to win this weekend against Illinois and set yourself up for success the rest of the way. And, if you win 6 ball games and make a bowl game, then you're already doing better than your predecessor. And, you're showing progress. And that's what, some of that came out during the bye week too, last week. Actually, when we were on the air last Tuesday, when Trev Alberts had his radio show, and they kind of talked about, the money and just the way Trev had laid things out, because this was a big deal because lawyers were involved, because Scott Frost and his camp had stuff put down in writing. And, things now have progressed to where you see Mickey Joseph now being able to do what Scott Frost, my point is, what little was really on the table for Scott Frost to succeed. And that was just showing progress, winning 6 games and going to a bowl game. You didn't have to, win 9-10 games, but he failed miserably at that. And Mickey Joseph still has the chance to fulfill Scott Frost's obligations for the season right now. And in my opinion, and I think most everybody we talk to is pretty much on the same boat here with really thinking that Mickey Joseph has already done enough to retain the head coaching job and be named the next head coach in Nebraska. But we'll see. There's 5 games left to play, and obviously there's not an easy one on the slate. And you look around at a lot of the other names that have been mentioned out there, a lot of those programs are kind of struggling right now too. Maybe not struggling, but not doing as well as you thought. Just point out a couple, like an Iowa State and a Baylor. People know who I'm talking about.
Kansas.
So, yeah. So, there's 5 games left. Let's see how this ball plays out, and then we'll kind of have a better idea of who the next head coach will be.
It's funny that you mentioned to me before we came on, and it completely missed me about Malachi Coleman, because I watched the news conference today, and I had the thought
horrible question.
When Mickey Joseph was asked about Malachi Coleman, and it was odd because you can't hear the questions on TV, but Mickey Joseph was in the middle of talking, still answering, and I was very intent on what he was talking about because it was an interesting conversation he was having with a reporter that he was in the middle, and then somebody cut in from the back and asked about Malachi Coleman, and my first thought was I was just wanting to hear him finish the answer to the other guy, and then it hit me about 30 seconds later. I thought, he's talking about a recruit.
You can't. Okay, first off, the question was asked by a kid that just graduated, I think a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. And I'm not sure what outlet he's working for. It's some kind of a local thing or state type thing. I'm not quite sure. But he is an annoying kid, just to get that off my chest in the first place. 2 weeks ago, he asked the same question that somebody else had just asked, like 2 questions before.
Yeah.
And so when he asked that question, I was not at my camera. I was at my computer, capturing stuff and everything and eating my lunch a little bit. And as soon as he asked that question, I just blurted out. I go, "You can't ask that." And Greg Sharp, the voice of the Huskers, was standing right there, and he's like, "God, what's he doing?" And I'm like, "Idiot," and I dropped a Jesus bleep there, and people turned around and looked at me. I mean, yeah, I'm just like, "What are you trying to do? Get him fired?" And Nicky actually, he said more than he should. He should have clammed up and not said anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a very dicey situation this morning. But and you know what? I mean, the entire media knows who that kid is that asked the question. So it's not a good way to try to get in the business.
Well, it's my guess, and this is all just a guess, that of course Mickey Joseph knows the rules. I think he probably just forgot in the moment.
Yeah.
I do things all the time where I know better, but I forget in the very moment that I think 30 seconds later, I shouldn't have said that or shouldn't have done that or whatever it is. I just forget.
Yeah.
So we had the same situation right there. So
yeah.
I don't know what's going to become of that.
It's very awkward. I mean, everybody, as soon as the words Malachi Coleman came out of his mouth, everybody was just, what are you doing? You can't put your head coach in that spot.
Yeah, I think he asked about Malachi Coleman, and then he kind of let it down, kind of just how in general are you thinking about recruiting, and that's when Mickey Joseph took off in talking about this is how I'm approaching the job, which of course you can ask about recruiting in generalities. But
he did elaborate on. I mean, he did say that 6 months ago he wasn't coming here, and he just said too much. He shouldn't have said a word. No, the kid's not an Iowa fan. He went to school here. The only kid that went to school here that's an Iowa fan runs the 24/7 site that used to intern for me.
Okay.
David Eichholt.
Oh, we had David Eichholt on here for the Ohio State show last week.
There you go. Dave's my boy. I trained him.
Oh, okay. Well, he did a great job. He was on here. Yeah.
He's a Columbus, Nebraska native that went to the University of Nebraska, got a broadcasting degree, but is a lifelong Iowa Hawkeye fan and got his dream job right out of college.
All right.
Thanks to us.
Okay.
Thanks to Husker Online's tutelage.
All right, folks, leave those comments and questions here at the Voice of College Football. You know what the deal is. Please come on back next week and bring some more people with you. We should explode this show. It should go through the roof because if we only have about 70 on the line right now, but it's usually 120 or something in that range. You bring 2 or 3 people with you. There you go. So consider that.
Jose, no. Malachi's not going to get a 5th star. Sorry to say that. He's had a very poor season. to put it lightly. He just, last year he had a fantastic year last year. This year he's been a little banged up. He's missed a few games, and East has struggled on the offense. They had all-state quarterback, Gatorade Player of the Year last year was East quarterback, and so they got young guys. They got 2 young guys that they've been trying to play at quarterback, and Malachi gets double teamed, like you can imagine, and even triple teamed at times, and they just have not been able to find a way to get Malachi the ball. So his stats are way down. I've been to 4 of his games. I think he's had 1 touchdown this season so far. Like I said, I'll see him again this Friday. Hopefully he has a big game, but it just hasn't been. I mean, the cards have been stacked against him. Basically, it's been kind of a rough senior year for him, and he's a fantastic athlete though, and one interesting thing is that most of the higher ranked guys that you see are that can do it are going to graduate early, but he's not going to graduate early because he's got unfinished business to do on the track. Because he lost the state final. He ended up silver medalist in the 100 and the 200 last year, when that was supposed to be the gold medal in both of those events. And so he's going to stick around and run track again for his senior year. But that's just the kind of a competitor that he is, and I know I've talked to him several times personally, and he's not happy with the way that his football season has gone this year. But you know what? They're in the playoffs, and there's still hope for them. They're playing a superior team, but you never know what can happen.
Illinois off to a big start at 6-1, 3-1 in the Big Ten, lead the Big Ten Western Division. They are a 7-point favorite coming in against Nebraska, over under at 51.5. Right now, Greg, Illinois got the number 1 defense in the country. That doesn't always mean it's the
number 2.
Number 2?
Yeah.
Do I need to look this up? Are they number 1? They've been number 1.
It's right here. Illinois ranks first in scoring defense. First in a bunch of categories, but Illinois defense is ranked 2nd in the nation by ESPN's metric.
By ESPN's metric.
Yeah.
Well, are we going to listen to those bums? Come on.
I don't know.
Don't hire anyone over there. So I'm gonna verify this. So total defense.
Oh, it's across. I mean, they're what? Number 1 in scoring defense, tied for first in touchdowns allowed, first in total defense, it says here. So that doesn't make sense.
That's it.
First in passing efficiency, 2nd in red zone, 2nd in rushing defense, 2nd in interceptions, 2nd in passing defense, 2nd in first downs allowed, 4th in total yards allowed, 5th and 4th down defense, 5th in takeaways, 7th and 3rd down defense, 8th in sacks. There you go.
Wow. Well, I've got the total defense rankings right there.
This is their press release.
Total defense and yardage.
This comes from Illinois, their AD or their SID.
Okay. Well, with all that defense coming to town, and also the number 1 rusher in the country in Chase Brown.
Yeah. Number 1 rusher.
Productive. They don't have a prolific, high-scoring, high-flying offense, but a very productive offense.
Yeah. They control the ball.
Yep.
And they don't turn it over. Yep.
What's Nebraska's shot in this?
Well, Nebraska is definitely going to have to try to control the ball a lot more than they did against Purdue, because that discrepancy, with plays run in the Purdue game was almost unheard of. So they've definitely got to do a better job of sustaining drives, longer drives, keep the defense off of the field. Now, that being said, I know Mickey Joseph was asked about that today, and he did say, he's like, you know what? I can't stop them from scoring fast. If we're going to score and they score fast, I mean, we're talking about like a 80-yarder to Trey Palmer. He's not going to get upset about that. But, yeah, I mean, you've got to find a way to, Illinois is an extremely physical team. Their front seven on defense has really played very well all year. Their offensive line is extremely physical, and in this league, you've got to be able to play inside. You've got to be physical on the lines, and that's what it comes down to. Nebraska obviously banged up on the offensive line, but got to find a way, to be able to get into the fourth quarter and still be able to, to move the ball and be in this game. Defensively, they're going to come and run right at you. I mean, probably they haven't faced a team since week 0 against Northwestern that's going to run right at you like that. So, the challenge is going to be there. And then obviously on the backside in the secondary, you've got some young guys there that are obviously going to get picked on. I mean, Malcolm Herzog's a freshman, so they're going to pick on him. He's come up big in the time that he's been out there, but they've just got to they got to play discipline. They've got to tackle. It's going to be an uphill battle, obviously. If you turn the ball over against Illinois, then you're done because, we just read off those stats. I mean, I think they have 12 interceptions on the year. That defense of Illinois has been playing lights out. The most points they've allowed all year is 23 points. Now, like you said, their offense is not that prolific. They're not going to put a bunch of points on the board, but, Nebraska's got to find a way to put 24, 27 points on the board to be in this game because, Illinois is going to definitely do that. So it's going to be a very interesting game, and obviously Nebraska is an underdog going into the game, but, who knows? I mean, Illinois, they won the game last year in Champaign, and they've got momentum that, they're 6-1. Brett Bielema definitely has shown in his second year that, he can work things there at Illinois, and heck, I mean, they're having a heck of a year right now. So, hey, it's going to be a fun game, in my opinion. I think it's going to be one of those slugfests too that, last man standing is going to win this game.
There you have it. I keep posting different defensive metrics in which Illinois is right near the top. You see Wisconsin 14 interceptions, and there's about 5 teams tied at number 2, including Illinois with 12 picks. So they are playing lights out on that side of the ball, no doubt.
Yep.
Do we think Mark Whipple's doing a good job? That question is coming in the live chat. What would be your assessment of the coordination of the offense and the play calling?
I think since the departure of Scott Frost, I think Mark Whipple's been free to kind of do, not have any handcuffs on him. And, obviously there's been some spots there where it hasn't looked great, but overall, I think he's done a really good job. And you're talking about a guy that, I mean, hell, he coached Kenny Pickett last year, for that Pitt for the last few years. And, he coached Ben Roethlisberger, and he's had a heck of a lot of success. And I kind of, in my opinion, I think he's about ready to retire. Even I don't even know if he's going to be back next year, just health reasons and stuff. But I think overall he's been a very stable cog in what's going on with the transfer from Scott Frost to Mickey Joseph. And, the thing is that him and Mickey work really well together, and Mickey doesn't put any pressure on him, and it's his show to run, and I'm very confident in what he's been doing, and hell, that guy's forgot more about football than any of us will ever know. So I feel like they're in good hands with Mark Whipple as the offensive coordinator.
So the last home game was what, the Indiana game, right? They beat Indiana, then they went to Purdue, right? Those are the last two games.
Yeah.
So for a guy that's in the stadium every home game, knows the best of the best, the national championship seasons, all that, and then even competitive seasons in the Big Ten, playing for Big Ten Western Division title, the whole gamut, and then what we've seen the last 5 years. What's the vibe and the attitude in that stadium these days, and what will you anticipate it being if people are really locked in? There's one thing to consider. Okay, this team had to fire its coach. They're not playing that well. They've had a couple decent games, but mostly it's been a poor season. However, you look at the standings, they're 2-2 in the Big Ten. Illinois 3-1 in the Big Ten. Purdue's 3-2 in the Big Ten. Everybody else has 2 or 3 losses. Like, it's still right in front of them. Do you think people are going to realize? Do you think this fan base is going to have some hope and bring some energy?
This fan base always has hope.
Well, yes.
And you've seen what for the last 7 years with a losing program, pretty much, that you still see the support there. Nebraska fans are always waiting for things to turn around, and they're going to bring a lot of energy. And they're, you're hosting the number 17 team in the country. Scott Frost did not beat a top 25 team. So, heck, this is your chance right now. And, the whole state's behind Mickey Joseph right now. This fan base is dialed in, and they can't wait for Saturday. They had a bye week. They had a road game. They haven't seen a home game here in 3 weeks. So they're chomping at the bit, and I think the place is going to be rocking. And it's up to Illinois to quiet down that crowd, because Husker Nation is going to be there at full strength on Saturday afternoon.
If they win, they're tied for first place in the division, and they have the tiebreaker over Illinois. Purdue's got the tiebreaker on them, but still, they've created a 3-way tie, and they've got one of the tiebreakers. That's what this game means.
Oh, it means a lot, yeah.
Which is astounding, considering what they've been through and considering how lousy most of the season's been. And, of course, they've played the worst part of their Big Ten season, but the truth is the truth, and the facts are the facts. And they got Indiana and Rutgers early. Of course, they got those wins. And now, they're going to have to beat some better football teams. But some of those teams aren't what they usually are. Iowa's not, Wisconsin's not, Minnesota's not what they've been recent. So they all seem like just a kind of, Illinois has been the one team that's played better than just about everybody else, and Purdue on occasion, but it's
Wisconsin,
right there.
Wisconsin looks more like Wisconsin all of a sudden too, though.
Well, they did last week against Purdue, that's for sure. They blew them off the field, surprisingly, out of nowhere. So, there's
a long way to go. This thing's not over. Not in the next week or two, not even close. So, this is going to go down to the wire. And, pretty much everybody's still in the hunt besides Northwestern.
Absolutely. Well, folks, where do we stand on this? Any other questions? Some folks wanted to know about, let's see, we got some special teams questions on, let's see, what did I miss here? We had,
I don't know.
Well, we've got Lloyd McChristmas. What are your thoughts on the job Donovan Raiola is doing? I say fire him.
I don't want to. I don't think Donovan Raiola is a bad coach or anything. A lot of obstacles there that he's had to overcome, and and then you got injuries on top of it that haven't helped at all. And heck, he's only been here. He hadn't even been here for a full year. And what's the biggest thing that Nebraska's offensive line has been lacking for the last, 10 years, and that's development, right? I mean, you talked about probably the most proudest offensive line unit in the country, the pipeline, that has just not been what they used to be, physical wise and depth wise. And, that's a big problem. And you can't blame Donovan Raiola for coming in here. For none of these guys are his guys. He didn't recruit any of these guys. So, try to polish a turd the best way you can, to put it lightly. So you give him a little time. That was his predecessor's group. You can't just work miracles after one season. After 7 months with these guys.
Our buddy One Scoop John, appreciate you being here. One Scoop. Top 3 head coaching candidates for Nebraska 2023. Do you want me to take this one first?
Yeah, go for it. What do you got?
All right. Top 3 reasonable selections for head coach. I'm going to say my pecking order would be, I'm probably missing somebody when I'm put on the spot. I like to think these things through, and we don't have time, of course. So I'm going to go Mickey Joseph 3, Lance Leipold 2, Matt Rule 1.
Okay. What am I going to do? I'm going to go Chris Kleiman 3.
Oh, okay.
And Matt Campbell 2 and Mickey Joseph 1.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah. Chris Kleiman. That would be a nice hire.
And then Mickey Joseph brings in Ed Ogeron and Vance Joseph as coordinators. How about that?
Ed Ogeron is a coordinator.
They're both defensive guys, but we'll find a spot for them.
Well, co-defensive coordinators. Okay. Interesting. All right, folks.
Just dreaming out loud.
Sure. Why not? That's what this place is for.
I just, to me, like I kind of mentioned earlier, I think as each week goes on, Mickey Joseph just captures more and more of everybody's interest. Just because of the way that he responds to the players and the way they respond to him. He's so engaged with everything, where I think, in the past, Scott Frost really was not engaged and wasn't really approachable. I don't think guys really felt comfortable approaching Coach Frost, say with personal issues and stuff like that. Mickey Joseph, his door is always wide open. You come in and you talk about life, and he's more than happy to spend as much time with you as possible. And, like I've said many a times, that I've been around this profession for a very, very long time. And he is just so down to earth and just so easy to get along with. There's no ego there. And he truly wants the best for all these young men.
He's making his bid.
Yeah, and you know, it's his job to lose, really. And who knows? I mean, God, it's such a tough job if you're Trev Alberts right now, trying to weigh all your options. And you know what? Maybe the easiest or the best option is right in front of you. It's hard to say, but Nicky's won me over, obviously.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, he's impressive. There's no doubt about that. And he knows what he needs to get accomplished on the recruiting trail, and he can execute that, and he can build a staff that can execute that. And certainly that's a big part of it right there.
Yep.
All right. Appreciate everybody being here at the Voice of College Football. Guess what? We do this every Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern and 6 o'clock Central. And for the part of the show that you missed, if you're coming in here late, guess what? You watch the rest of the show as soon as we get off here. And come on back next Tuesday, and we will, of course, review the Illinois game and look forward to the next game, which I believe is Minnesota. All right.
So you could watch these, 50 years from now still, too, couldn't you?
You could.
If you wanted to.
Oh, they're here. Seems like we've been doing this for 50 years. Not you and I. Talking about all these channels and everything. They go back 10 plus years. So shoot, have at it, people. Go watch the videos. That's good for us. Good for me. Nebraska football ticket giveaway brought to you by Gene Arthur Associates. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram. So what you do there is you go to Facebook and Instagram, follow, like, and share. I've posted the link in the live chat a number of times already, and you can grab the link also for an instant quote on car, home, auto, RV, life insurance, any type of insurance that you need. You grab the link in the description section of any of the videos. That has nothing to do, though, with the ticket giveaway. No purchase required. Don't have to get a quote. Nothing required. Just sign up. Facebook, Instagram, like, share, and follow right there, and you are automatically entered. All right, Greg, enjoy the ball game this weekend.
Oh, we got a little high school playoffs to get to.
Okay.
So, yeah. Playoffs stay in Nebraska start this week. So, I'll be, like I mentioned earlier, I'll be Lincoln East at Elkhorn South, and my intern Blake will be at Lincoln Southeast at Gretna. So okay. I'll be doing 2 Husker commits, Malachi Coleman and Maverick Noonan, and Blake will have Husker commit Gunnar Gatula going against Husker offer lineman Mason Goldman for Gretna. So have a little Husker flavor here on Friday before the Illini get here.
You can join me in a half hour over on the main channel. I'll take your calls, 8:30 Eastern. We can do that as well. All right, bring it on back next Tuesday, everyone. Huskers Live, Tuesday, 6 Central. See you then.